What's going on, guys? Today we're talking about closing day. Now, this is an exciting part of the transaction, but there's things that you need to be aware of because people will try to make some power moves and it could delay closing. And that can be unfortunate, especially when you got the moving van filled with all your stuff inside it. So that's what we're breaking today. All those little nuances that you need to be tracking, from how to send money, what you need to bring to closing, who you should be bringing with to the closing table as well. And then we're going to talk about all those different options to go with that. My name is David Piatek. I am a loan officer and able to help you utilize that amazing VA home loan. You can schedule a call with me and my team down in the description below and use all this information that we provide to you on YouTube and actually utilize it in your own transaction to make it as smooth as possible. So let's go right into it. So to get to the closing date, right? We've already done what 14 videos to get to that, from pre-approval, going under contract, and all those steps in between that. In the last video we did, we talked about doing a walkthrough, okay, which can affect the closing date, especially if you're doing it right before, which I still recommend doing that. That's my personal opinion. And then once you do that inspection, then at least you can go to closing knowing that everything is good to go. So the way the closing is set up is that once you have the clear to close, right, the lender's going to notify everybody. Then sometimes it's attorney, lender, or title company that will coordinate with you and the seller to make a time work. Okay. Sometimes you may not have a choice on the day and time because it might be just when the attorneys are available for that. So just know and let your employer know that you may need some flexibility around that day, because even when you, with the closing date being set and you're going, things can shift one way or another. Some people will take like an hour off of work, and I do not recommend that. At least if you're doing it like, let's say a noon or 1 o'clock closing, just take the half the day off. If you're doing something in the morning, I highly recommend just taking the entire day off. So that way you're just not stressing about going back to work because of the closing. And a lot of times you may be moving right after that, which is another big component of the closing date, because when you're getting to this date and it's scheduled, you want to make sure that you're getting all the utilities switched into your name, any kind of work that you wanting to get done before you move in, you're coordinating that. But I would truly wait until you're conditionally approved, clear to close, before you start messing with that. Because again, closing dates can change and that can cause just a ton of additional stress you just don't want to deal with in the transaction. Normally, also on closing day, this is when you're going to get the keys to the property. Now, it can vary depending on where you are. In some states, when you purchase a property, they actually have to record that before they can give you the keys. So if you close on a Friday, you may not be able to do it till a Monday. So it's important to ask those questions of the title company and your realtor to make sure that whatever you're trying to do aligns with how the actual transaction works. And another big piece on condos, with property management companies, you normally have to schedule a move in. So if you're going to the closing table and all your stuff is in a rental truck, and you're like, "Oh, I'm going right after this to close," and they may be looking at you like, "No, you're not. You have to schedule that." And then you may be delayed. But again, this is why we do these videos, so you guys can kind of understand like what is actually involved in the transaction. Now, back in the day, when you went to a closing, normally you would have the buyers and the sellers all there at the closing, right? Normally it's going to be a title agent, sometimes the realtor, sometimes the lender shows up. Which honestly, like, we used to do that a lot. We don't do that anymore because, one, we work across the country, so we wouldn't be able to fly out everywhere. I don't know if I'd be able to justify that expense. Um, but a lender's better suited back at the office where they're managing, like if something comes up, which we're going to talk about all that in today's video. um, so nowadays, right, it's really like the title agent, an attorney, if you have one, yourself, and your agent is going to be at the closing table. That's normally who shows up. I think a lot of people would like to meet the sellers, or they've never even talked to them or met them in the transaction. We covered that in one of our videos on like what the responsibilities of people are. that you're going to be working with. Yeah, so it's just important to know that that's what it's going to look like. And I mentioned in the last video, if you have a last minute adjustment, right? This can be, a work trip came up or you had to leave and for an emergency, you know that you could do a mail away where basically you can close in a different part of the country, have the package overnighted, and do a dry closing. So that is an option that does come up for that. Now, when you're going to closing, okay, you need to have a valid driver's license. And whoever's on title will also have to be at the closing. So keep that in mind because sometimes we'll have like one person show up and we're like, where's the other person? That doesn't happen anymore because we're like, hey, make sure everybody shows up, have a valid ID, not an expired one. We had one where the client's driver's license was expiring a day before closing. It was caught, and then they went and got an updated driver's license for that. Normally, you want to bring two forms of ID. And if you're in a community property state or in some states, you want to verify this with title. Even if you have a spouse that's not on the title, that's not on the mortgage, because people do that, that they may still have to come to closing and sign off their interest in the property. So that is a huge piece because people will sometimes discount that part and then they get to closing and then all of a sudden you have this unforeseen delays. And again, I don't want you guys to be in that spot because the closing itself, right? The way it's going to work is that you get to closing, they may offer you some coffee. That's very nice of them. You're going to go into a room with a big table, right? Closer should be there. Realtor should be there. If you have an attorney, they're going to explain the documents. If you don't have one, it's going to be the closer that's going to review the documents with you. Normally, it's about 100 plus pages, not like 200, but it's like 110, 120 sometimes, depending on the loan program. But you're going to go through all the pieces, right? The promissory note, the deed, the closing disclosure, making sure you go over that with a fine-tooth comb, right? And make sure that all the fees are correct. That's probably that is honestly, like when I did my closing, it was like 7 minutes, to be honest, when I closed on my place the other year, because I already knew I can't change all the other documents, right? They're all standardized. I just wanted to make sure for myself that the closing costs were correct. I understood them. And then look at the promissory note and look at the deed to make sure that all the names and vestings are correct because that's why you don't want mistakes to be made. Also making sure the names are correct, as silly as that sound, because sometimes the closing team, a title company may change something and now we have to change it back and that can delay a closing as well. Oh, not by a day, but normally by like an hour or so. This is why I recommend take some time off with that. And that's probably what I looked at, but still you need to review all the other documents to make sure that you know what you're signing. For the most part, VA loans do not have prepayment penalties. So if you pay off the loan early, no penalty. But if it's in conjunction with like a community second, there could be a prepay on the second. I'm not going to go into that in today's video, but just know that there's, again, a lot of things that go into home transactions that a lot of people just don't realize that you have to pay attention to. Also, if you want to make early payments, you can do that with a VA loan. Again, no prepayment penalty on VA home loans, which is super positive. So just note with that statement, I wasn't going to cover, but I'll touch on it. Your first payment, right? If you're closing, depending on how you structure the loan, if you're closing between the first and the last day of the month, right? In that month, normally your first mortgage payment is the following month. And let me give an example. If you close in January between the first and the last day of the month, February's mortgage payment is technically due in January's, but you already prepaid interest. That's what the prepaid interest is. And we're going to do a separate video on understanding all the components of the loan estimate and closing disclosure. So essentially your first payment is going to be March 1st, right? So January, February, March 1st is going to be your mortgage payment. Mortgage payments due on the first of the month, but you have a 15-day grace period to make the payment. After the 15th of the month to the last day of the month, you're assessed normally a 5% penalty, like a fee. And then after the end of the month, 30 days, then you're going to have a 30-day late. Just keep that in mind. Also, at the closing table, you normally get your first 2 coupons, meaning the first 2 payments that you're going to make. It's important to save that. Please do that. But like what we do is we follow up a week before the first payment is due to make sure that you have your first payment letter. Normally, at the time of closing, you're not setting up all your auto pay, auto draft, because the mortgage is just being created. Once that mortgage is created, you got to give it a little bit of time to get processed into the servicing system. And then once you get the login credentials, then you're able to set up your auto pay. But normally the first payment is going to be a check in the mail. If you don't have checks, that's fine. You can always just go down to the bank and just get your first check, or not first check, but get a check, certified check that you can send into the bank so they can actually process that payment. Sometimes they can do it over the phone, like we've done that before as well in that. So again, a lot of moving pieces. Now for cash to close, okay, this is an important one. You're not showing up with a bag full of money. That doesn't happen, okay? Normally you have to bring in a certified check, a money order, or you're going to wire the funds. And then also title companies have limits, because sometimes they'll say anything over 50,000 requires a wire. Sometimes it might be 25,000. So again, you have to really play with that and kind of figure out, or not play with that. You have to call a title company to figure out how they want that money. And sometimes you don't have the final closing disclosure before you go to closing. So sometimes you have to actually send a wire amount that's over that amount. Now, one thing to know, I recommend this on all closings. Even if when you get a final CD, always wire over the dollar amount by like a couple $1,000s. I did the same thing at my closing. I wouldn't tell you guys to do something I wouldn't do. So I ended up wiring more money just in case something would change. And things can still change even when a CD is issued because the seller's attorney didn't review something, or a tax bill all of a sudden got paid. Now we have to reshuffle money around. And normally, I mean, there's always an explanation on how the money changes. You may be happy or you may not be happy with that change. This is why, and as you guys have learned from the first video we did, how money changes happen in the transaction. Again, can't stress how important it is to have the right team behind you on that. So big takeaways so far, right, has been making sure you have the right IDs, people that need to be there, how to send the money, things not to do, which relates directly back to the video we talked about, things not to do. Please do not take out credit that day. They can still do a soft check. Do not quit your job because they still verify employment. That'd be such a shame. We've had it happen. I've used that. I've talked about this in prior videos. You just don't want to be in them. Normally, there's not too many errors with loan documents that have to go back and forth, okay? But there's things that can happen. In the last video, we talked about you go to the home inspection, there's an issue, and now you may be delaying closing because you want those repairs fixed before you take ownership. So that could be a closing delay, even on the day of closing. So just kind of be tracking that. Sometimes people will have an emergency come up and then the seller can't sign, or you as a buyer can't sign, or your spouse had to go in to do something you can't sign. And if you have a hectic schedule or a schedule that changes all the time, like we see this with like flight attendants and nurses, doctors, where things can change pretty rapid. The closing date is a moving target. Normally, I mean, you set it at the day of the time you go under contract. To me, and I'm sure if realtors are watching this, like I mentioned this in the other video, they're like, no, that's like the timeline that everything moves. Like trust me, I get that. But sometimes things change, as you guys see, right? Of all these moving pieces, so you got to be flexible, one. But when you don't have flexibility, you need to adjust this timeline, I guess, earlier, right? So if it's in a tight timeline, you may have to order the appraisal much sooner, right, than the home inspection. You may want to do the walkthrough 72 hours before and then the day of closing, right? That might give you some ability to foresee some of those issues. Then you're just not running into problems, right? Because again, you don't want to get to this home inspection, then you have that issue. And the thing when it comes to closing costs, Closing costs can change sometimes a lot from the time the closing initial closing disclosure is issued. So just be aware of that. It could sometimes be as simple as the time of the year that you're buying, because you'll run into situations like we run into this in some areas where tax bills are delayed and title companies are holding what's called TI, where they hold like a year's worth of taxes as a reserve, even though they only need like 3 months. It's wild to me, and it's thrown off transactions in the past. But then buyers have to scramble to get that money. So again, you may see a delay in that. Um, but once you actually do the closing and you get the keys, now you have the house, which is going to lead us to our last video. What happens post closing and things you just need to be aware of in that process. And let me know, guys, in the comment section what you guys think of the video. If you guys have any questions, if you've gone to closing and if you run into issues, how you overcame those. And again, if you guys would like to work with us, you can schedule a call down in the description below. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.